Palace linked with a fullback. Yes, it is happening. Who is Jordan Lotomba? We're going to be discussing that and also the future of Rob Street and Street Rak-Sakyi. Could they be heading out of the club during the summer? And more. As always, if you do enjoy it, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to not miss out on future Palace content. And let's get started with Palace news. What's going on, people? Welcome back to Live Palace News. And I'm joined by T here to discuss all the latest with Palace. Finally, a fullback that we're linked with. We've been arguing, debating, whatever word you want to use it over the past 6 months, 2 years, depending on how long you want to talk about it, about fullback. And another one is on the radar today. But before we get started, if you guys have any questions, send them through. We'll answer them throughout the show and more. Plus, check out the opposition preview, which was posted earlier on today after this show. T, how you doing, my man?
All good, man. I'm all good. How are you? How's everything, man?
I'm good, man. I'm chilled. I'm counting down the days. You know, funny thing is, the match preview is going to be posted tomorrow. Funny thing is, I was thinking about it. I was like, oh, we got to get him on Saturday. But it's not even a Saturday. It's a Sunday. So we still got
Sunday.
You know, it's dragging. It's dragging.
Yeah.
Sunday, 4:30. It's not even early. It's 4:30 as well. But look, the award show. Yesterday, we had to cut it off. We had to cut it off yesterday before the award show ended. And you called it about player of the season. Elise won that award. And player of the season, Check Decore. What do you make of those? Mark Gahey not involved in either one of them. Some people saying he was robbed. Where do you stand with it? I think Decore deserves it. I said it all along. I think Decore, when you look at the first game to the last game, I think he's been one of our most consistent and one of our most important players. Anderson has played well alongside Mark Gahey. I'm not taking that away from him. But Decore, I can't debate that. But Elise, what do you make of that? The players voting him.
I'm not surprised at all, man. Like, it's funny because we see how he acts with the media and how he's very, very short with them, doesn't get him. But it seems like he's the type of guy that the players on the team love, man. Like, he seems like a really good teammate. Guys love him in the dressing room. So I'm not surprised by that at all. I agree with you in the fact that I think Check Decore is more than deserving of the award that he got. Like I said, I didn't have any issue with any of the awards given out. I think it's cool. I feel like in years past, the award either hasn't been as valid or like people haven't really cared as much in certain ways. And there hasn't been as much competition. Like there were a lot of players that had legitimate arguments for winning these awards. So I thought that was kind of cool that we had a good enough season and a good enough team to be talking about multiple guys that were deserving of all these awards. So
yeah, and it shows our season, despite our season being frustrating, we've had some very good players during that season. And it sounds weird. How can you have that many good players that's in contention for player of the season whilst not having a very good season as a team? But it is what it is. We struggled a bit and managed to stay up. But if you look at from where we were last season to this season, I think it's been very mediocre. Like in the cup, in the league, and we will focus on staying up. Before we get started with the news, Atta says, thanks for interrupting my spreadsheet work. Yo, T, are you coming to Detroit for Palace?
Chicago. I'm going to Chicago. My wife wasn't gonna let me do both of them, so I had to pick one. Chicago's an easier trip from St. Louis, so I'm gonna just take the train straight up north to Chicago. So I'll be at the Millonarios game. So shout out to anybody that's gonna be there. I will be in section 116, I do believe.
116. You got your tickets already, yeah?
Yeah. So
I need to see. I really want to come. It'd be good to do content over there as well. But if I come, I'm coming for the week. I have to go to both games. So
I feel you. I mean, you gotta make it worth your while. I mean, the reason why I'm also excited about the Chicago match will be in a soccer specific stadium, which is pretty cool.
It's not soccer. It's not soccer. Let's get
football
that right.
Specific.
Yes. All right. Yeah.
Now we're talking. But if I call it a football specific stadium here, it's different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So, because you lot don't know the difference between football and egg ball. There's a massive difference between football and egg ball. American football. Come on, like it's not football. You don't even play with your foot. Most time you're running with the ball, holding the ball,
so
or the egg, or whatever you want to put it.
The match in Detroit is in a baseball stadium. So it's in not necessarily a stadium that's made for
Yeah,
football to be
but
played on. So,
Palace still playing.
no, I'm saying they're playing. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm excited to see them play in an actual football stadium. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think that's pretty dope. But looking forward to it either
Nah, it
way,
should be
man.
exciting. It should be exciting. Let's see if we can make the trip as back as the nest as well. It'd be good to have some content
Some good, yeah, that's some good
over there.
content, man. You
Yeah,
get some good
yeah.
content on
Summer,
US
we have
soil,
some
man.
content. Talk, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But talking about Palace news, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't planning this, but I just thought about it off the top of my head. But Arne Slot, we didn't mention it, but he was so close to joining Tottenham. But it seems like he signed a new contract extension. He hasn't ruled out working in the Premier League in the future, but it seemed like Tottenham wasn't willing to pay his release clause of about £10 million. But I
Yeah, they
think
said
that
it jumped up from like 6 to like 15.
yeah, I think that is out of the question now for Palace, right? If,
Well,
if
then,
Tottenham can't get him, you'd think Palace can't get him. But
yeah, well, he came out and said that he didn't want to leave Feyenoord. He came out and said that he wanted to see things through, and it makes sense because he did such a great job with them, with winning the Eredivisie, and then now going on to Champions League football. You know what I'm saying? He probably wants to see that what next season brings. What type of things he can do with that team in Europe. So I get it.
yeah,
I completely understood it. That was one of the reasons why I was even skeptical of us being able to get before Tottenham was even in the picture. That was one of the reasons why I was worried about us being able to get him. It's like, he's got the opportunity to stay with the club that's going to be playing in Europe. He's won the Eredivisie, so he's got a chance to defend the title next year. So he had a lot of incentive for staying there. Not only the fact that he probably signed a new contract where he's getting more money now. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it was a tough draw for us to begin with, but it kind of makes me
yeah,
worried that
yeah.
we may end up having another season of Roy. But it is what
Yeah,
it
I
is.
think it's looking likely. I was gonna say,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's looking more likely than ever. But we'll see. We'll see. Once the season ends after Sunday, maybe more managers start popping up. Maybe we act a bit more serious, talking to other managers. But for now, I think another year of Roy, I wouldn't be surprised because if he was leaving, surely it would have been announced this week to send him
Mm-hmm.
to make sure he has a proper goodbye. And we don't know. We don't know. But let's move on to the stories that's come out today. Let's start off with the first one with a fullback. Yes, over in Nice. According to Le Guip, the French shores, Crystal Palace are looking to strengthen their defense and are now being linked with League One right back Jordan Lotomba. The right back currently plays in Nice for Nice in France, and the club signed him for £6 million. He's only 24 years old, but has been a key starter for the club. Also played in the Conference League as well, so has a bit of European experience there. T, for me, I don't know how you see him, but for me, he's a attacking right back, similar to the likes of, I don't know who you can say, maybe Avila, Matty Cash, player like that. Very attacking, very good on the ball, and a player that we've been screaming out for in terms of to help Elise, another threat going forward. But 24 years old, has won a few trophies already in his career. Because before joining Nice, he was over in Switzerland, won a few trophies there.
Yeah, well, Young Boys, I think it was.
Yeah. It's the first time we're talking about him. But is there anything else that you'd add to his game that I haven't mentioned?
Positional versatility. He plays both left and right back. He's played significant minutes at left back this season for Nice. Also, so he provides a good amount of versatility for us at the back, which is important. Kind of a la Kyle Walker-Peters and what he can do on both fullback positions. So he provides some good cover for us too in the event that we need somebody to slide in on the left side. So I think that's important. It seems like his contract apparently only has two more years left. So being that they bought him for 6, he might be in a range that cost wise that might be more efficient for us, especially now with these rumors that Sacha Boey is being asked to go for around 25 million euros by Galatasaray. So like, at least in this situation, from what we think, Lotomba is a little bit more affordable for us too. So
Yeah, you would think that. I saw that as well. I was going to literally ask you that right before you said it. Sacha Boey, 25 million. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money for a right back, which I wouldn't be against paying because we need it and we've neglected that position for a while now. So we have to spend money. But 25 million. It sounds like a lot, but for what we need, I think it's also realistic as well. I don't think it's. I would be happy. I'd be happy with that. Let's say we spent 25 million on a left back, then that might be a few more questions. But we need a right back, so I'd be okay with that. But when you look at with Lotomba over in Nice, he's only signed. So he signed for £6 million. Let's say they make profit out of him. Let's say £15 million or so. £10 million difference. Would you rather go for Bowie or would you go for the cheaper option? Because both of them very good players and have got high potential. Maybe Sacha Bowie's got a bit more on him than Lotomba, especially with Bowie being linked with Arsenal. So would you rather pay the £10 million, get Bowie, or would you stick with Lotomba for, let's say, £15 million? I'm making these figures off the top of my head. Maybe Lotomba goes for cheaper or a bit.
Yeah. For me, it's it's a tough decision because with the price that you're putting out for a guy like Bowie, and I said it earlier in our last show, like when you're putting out that type of money, like we think it was the Matthias Franca conversation we were having. It's like you gotta be sure, like you gotta know.
But who do you know? But who do we know? We can't. You say you gotta be sure, but you told me a player that apart from maybe Kyle Walker-Peters.
When I say sure, I mean that your scouts are confident that he's going to be able to translate to Premier League ball. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, I mean, if you feel like both of these guys could translate well and play well, then you go with the cheaper option, I think, and you'll go with a Lotomba because you can get the same level of production from him for a lower amount comparatively to Bowie. But but you also have to factor in the likelihood of being able to actually get Bowie with, like you said, the competition that's out there with teams like Arsenal. So it's things that factor into it, but at least we're talking about multiple options. I think the worst thing the worst thing that we could have is us only focusing on one particular player for the duration of a transfer window, only to come up short and not get him.
Yeah, and that's what we talked about the other day. We talked about when the report came out about Nathaniel Klein and Joe Ward. I said that there's literally no excuses to not have a short list and to make sure if Sacha Bowie doesn't work out, if Walker-Peters, let's say he was on a short list, I'm not saying he is, if that doesn't work out, there should be next player. Like we should have our targets just lined up. Yep. And we just work through them. Literally, we can't have the situation of Joe Ward and Nathaniel Klein next season. So this is a positive in that instance because this is a player that we haven't heard about before being linked with Palace. And it's another name. And also it's coming from a reliable source. So it gives me a bit more confidence after what we heard this week that, we're still trying to push for a new fullback, which is what we desperately need, which is the positive out of this. So, yeah, look, we'll see what happens. As always, it's the first time it's been mentioned, so we don't want to go too much in detail. And afterwards, nothing happens. If he starts coming up a bit more often, then we can look into him a bit more and have a proper discussion about it. But, based on the base profile and the fundamentals of his game, I think he fits. I think he fits in terms of modern fullback as well as attack, well as defense. He's got, I think, 2 assists this season. Yep. But I can see him down the right hand side of Elise. Let's just say that, and it'll be a positive move. Atta says, just throwing this out there, Spence was bought for £20 million and it's just been framed out to Rennes from Tottenham. Could you imagine being that careless with money?
And that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying. You gotta trust your scouting. You know what I'm saying? Like you can't just be like, okay, for Tottenham, tossing out 20 million for a player isn't as much of a loss if it doesn't pan out in the immediacy that you needed to, as compared to a club like us, where if we go out and we spend 20 mil on a player, more than likely we want that guy to be involved right away, and we need him to be ready to go. We want him to be ready to go.
Yeah, but you say that, but regardless of how much you spend, your scouts, you should be spending the money on a player that you know. You get you buy a player that you have faith in regardless of the money. So for me, it doesn't really matter about a figure of 25 million or 10 million. I get what you're saying about if it's 25, then surely you have to be extra sure, but you should be sure regardless.
No, what I'm saying is, I'm speaking towards what he's saying about the fact that they spent that money on Spence, and Spence isn't even playing for them.
Yeah, but that was not a Conte signing, and I think that's where the problem lies.
And I get that. I fully get that, but that's all. That's the whole point of it. That now that's $20 million that was put out. That is going nowhere. It's sitting. It's dead money now because you brought in a manager who doesn't like the player's playing style or doesn't believe in him. So like I said, for them, that's not as much of a financial downfall or a financial loss. But for us to put out $20 million, like you hear the way people are clamoring over Edouard, and I think Edouard cost us what, 16
million pounds, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And people are saying, oh, what a waste of money he was. Like, we put out 20-25 on a right back who never gets in, never plays for us. That's a huge issue for us.
Yeah. But you can never. Maybe Edouard, the scouts were so sure about Edouard. Maybe they were. Like you can never be sure. You can never be sure because when you join another club, it goes from just more than just talent. It's about fitting in the new environment, the new league. So these stuff you can't. I mean, there's only so much you can scout. Only so much you can scout. Like you can't predict these type of things. So there's always going to be that case. You might think a player is brilliant. You might think bring him to Palace, and the worst case scenario happens, and it's homesick, and it doesn't work out. So it's not. Yeah. So it's hard. It's hard to be a scout. Mitch says every player is a gamble in some way. Sometimes they fail to adapt to a new league, new team. Sometimes they get injured in training. Business is about managing risk. Yep. Yeah, I agree. Yep. I agree with that. I agree with that indeed. Let's move on to the next bit of news today, which was on Rak-Sakyi. According to Wales Online newspaper, Rak-Sakyi is drawing interest from a number of championship clubs this summer, and Cardiff have had eyes on him. So let's talk about Rak-Sakyi in general. What are we expecting? As he's finished his loan at Charlton. He played for the under-21s in a final the other day. He got subbed off there. What is next for Rak-Sakyi team? Do you think Rak-Sakyi should go out on loan once again to maybe a championship club, harder difficulty than League One? Or do you think we should keep him around in the first team? The biggest argument for that is if you keep him around in the first team, then what happens on the right-hand side? Because you already got players there with Elise, maybe Jordan Ayew, if you have that debate. But if you bring in maybe another forward, maybe, I don't know. There's so many ifs and buts. But what happens with Rak-Sakyi? Do you think he should go out on loan?
I think for Rak-Sakyi, the most important thing for him is or for us as a club too, is figuring out can he do more than play on the right wing? Because if he can do more than just play on the right, then he has a chance to have a more of a immediate future in the first team, I think. However, if they feel like and they see that the right side is his area and that he might not be able to adapt elsewhere, then alone is probably going to be the best for him because the right side is Michael Elise's. You know what I mean? Like that's just the long and the short of it. So we could say keeping him in the first team, even in the presence of Elise, would be good for him because of first team training, all of that. But training only goes so far. You know what I'm saying? Guys are going to want to have that opportunity to be involved in playing first team minutes and doing his thing. So I think that if he can't find a way to be effective in another position outside of that right wing position, then I think the championship might be a good spot for him. So the Cardiff rumors is actually pretty good.
So how does it break into the first team? We talk about Elise. So there's two scenarios I can think of off the top of my head right now. Either Elise leaves and Rak-Sakyi breaks in like that, or we get rid of Jordan Ayew is versatile, but you get rid of maybe Jordan Ayew and Rak-Sakyi second in line. So how does Rak-Sakyi come into the team, and in what time frame do you think?
Yeah, I like I said, I think Rak-Sakyi comes into the team in more immediacy by learning a different position and like trying to play elsewhere other than on the right. So maybe on the left wing, especially if we end up losing Wilf, or maybe having a chance to rotate in as that advanced midfield position, which I think Patrick Vieira actually put him in there a little bit last summer. Other than that, I think maybe the loan is the way for him, and then maybe after next season, when Elise has another year under his belt, and I'm sure the transfer rumors become even more serious with him. If Elise then decides to go, like you said, maybe then is when he has that chance to break into the first team.
Yeah. I've said it before. I said it at the start of this season. I think Rak-Sakyi is ready for first team football, but the question is, who does he get picked ahead of.
Right.
Even
Right.
when I say first in football, I don't mean as a starter. I don't know if he's ready to be like a starter in the Premier
Right.
League. Maybe potentially. I'm not too sure about that. But I think he's ready to be a squad player at least at Palace. Rak-Sakyi
But
right now.
do you think that kind of, I mean, with where he is, what he just did last season at Charlton, do you think that him coming into the first team and then only seeing sporadic squad minutes hurts his development?
Yeah, I guess it will. I guess it will. But I mean, how does it work out then? Like that's what I'm saying. It's another year of loan, and then if we do keep Elise for another year, then Rak-Sakyi is still going to. His squad, if unless Elise leaves, Rak-Sakyi's development can always be in question because he's going to be young. He's not gonna jump 5 years next year. He's still going to be very young player. So unless Elise leaves, I just don't see him getting. I mean, if he's a better player than Elise, then geez, what on earth is going on down the right hand side? That'd be absolutely crazy.
The one reason why I would be a proponent of him going on loan comparatively to being like a squad rotational player behind Elise and IU guys like that is value. If he goes to the championship on loan next year and tears it up again like he did in League One, his value is going to be way higher than if he just stayed with us as a squad rotational player. So in the event, so in the event that, like you said, if we decide if Elise is still doing this thing and he decides to stay with Palace, then we could then look into moving Jez because Jez has legitimate value, solid value at that point. I mean, I think that's awesome for us, in that situation too.
Yeah,
so
trying to get return on some of these players that you grow up from the academy.
And that's an academy story,
Yeah, in an ideal scenario, I want to see Jez being at the Palace squad for depth at least.
Yeah.
But exactly what Luke has been saying is right. Two quality players for the same position is exactly what we want. And he also adds saying everyone should be challenging for first team step up, and that's what we need. I mean, because Richards, if we know that Mark Gahey's gone, we know that Richards could step in. That's the quality that we need. We need depth in terms of quality, not depth for numbers. Which is what we had in the past, and it's a good scenario. But we'll see what happens with Rak-Sakyi. It seems like Cardiff and other Championship clubs are looking at him.
And then you can't forget about Malcolm Abiwe too. He's around too, and you just got to figure out what's going on with him. I think
Malcolm Abiwe, more questions can be asked about him because he can play down the left hand side. But the question is, if he's down the right hand side, then he's behind like 3-4 players. Then what happens with that? I don't know what the plan was with Abiwe. I thought Abiwe was brought in maybe to have a bit of depth down the left hand side, and if that's the case,
because Abiwe is right-footed, correct?
Yeah, I think he's right-footed, but I think in the past he has played down the left for Derby. But
that's what I'm saying. If he plays down the left, he cuts in on the right. That makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. We've seen with Jordan Ayew. Ayew, in a way, down the left is stronger than he's down the right because of the way he can cut in,
100%.
Rather than just trying to cross it in. So I think there's a lot of question marks there. But Abiwe, maybe if he can play down the left, even Rak-Sakyi, if Rak-Sakyi can play down the left, then that question is done. He doesn't have to go out on loan.
Exactly. He doesn't have to because he's found a place. Yep.
Yeah, 100%. Let's move on to the final bit of story today, which is on Rob Street. According to a report from the Gloucestershire Live, Cheltenham Town are interested in the Crystal Palace striker Rob Street. Look, I said this yesterday. There's going to be some players that are going to leave. They're not going to make Palace first team, and that's the reality of it. With Rob Street, do you think he could be one of them? I thought he was solid for the under-21s. His hold-up play was okay, but I just don't know if he has enough in his game to become a first team Premier League striker. I don't know, as harsh as it might sound.
I don't see it. I don't see it for us, and here's why I say that. He's probably the 4th to 5th best striker in our academy right now, to be completely honest. I mean, you've got Akinwale, who's probably a better striker than him, arguably. You've got Ademola Adembomi, who's better than him. Franco Ume, who could be arguably better than him. I mean, Franco Ume has already been training with the first team and as an 18-year-old. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I mean, and Rob Street's 20. He's 21. You know what I'm saying? Like he's hitting the ceiling of youth football for us right
question
now.
Marks, so. Yeah, you ask question marks at this stage. When you're 21, you have to ask question marks. What's next?
It kind of reminds me of Nia Kirby when we ran into the situation with Nia Kirby last year. It's like Nia Kirby's hitting that age level. He's showing leadership, and he has a few decent loan spells with lower tier sides. But it's like, yo, you're not even one of the best in the academy at your position right now, man. Like, and that's just the reality of it. And that's probably why you haven't seen him getting an extension to this point.
So do you think if he was to leave at this point, would it be a permanent transfer? I think we're reaching that stage now of like
because he's free. Because he's free. He's free. He's free. He's gonna be free in the summer. His contract's running out. He has, like I'm saying, like if you come to this point in the year and there's no extensions happening right now, more than likely he's gonna walk.
Yeah. So I think we're reaching the end. We're reaching the end. Yeah. We're talking about Rak-Sakyi. I think it's only the start, but with Rob Street, I think it's just the end overall of his Palace career. Yeah. I think we're reaching that, and if he can find football somewhere and settle down, I think that might help him as well. Maybe we've seen in the past, you drop down lower league levels, you have consistent minutes, consistent playing time, and then you build that momentum, you build that confidence, and then afterwards you turn out to be a much player than we expected. So they could still work out for him in his favor.
Because now the team that was rumored with him, is that League Two?
What was that?
The team that he's rumored with. Yeah. Is that League Two?
I believe so, but I can just find out right now. Cheltenham Town.
Cheltenham Town.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're not League One. So you're probably right about it being no League One.
Okay, League One. Okay.
So where Rak-Sakyi was.
Yeah, where Rak-Sakyi was, and then because he was he on League One loan with? Was Shrewsbury League One?
No, you're talking about Killian Phillips. Rak-Sakyi.
No, I'm talking. I'm sorry. No. Where was Street at?
Rob Street. Very good question.
Was it Macclesfield?
Macclesfield? Yeah. He was at Macclesfield Town. Yeah, he was at Macclesfield.
That's League Two.
Yeah.
Okay.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
But no. He was on loan at Shrewsbury. He was at
Shrewsbury. So him and Killian Phillips were at Shrewsbury.
Yeah. They're both at the same team.
Okay.
Yeah, they were both at the same team. They were both at the same team.
Right.
But Killian Phillips, he spoke about his Palace future, and he seemed like he wants to stay.
He said he loves Palace. He was like, man, I love this club. I love everything this club's about. Like, it's good to hear somebody say that.
Yeah. So they're both in Shrewsbury, but Killian Phillips probably got a bit more praise than Rob Street did at his time at Shrewsbury. I
heard him constantly talking about Phillips, not so much with Rob.
Yeah, Street. I remember even us talking about Phillips over here.
Yeah. I think we could easily see 3 to 4 championship or possibly the Belgian Pro League loans for some of our guys. When you're talking about guys like Phillips, Ozo, Jez, possibly, depending on what you want to do with Ebioe or Teo, like we could have some guys playing at some pretty high levels on loan next year.
Yeah. Look, people, if you're enjoying the show, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. It only takes a second of your time. Let's keep the channel growing as much as we can as we're heading towards the end of the season. If there's quickly answer them before wrapping it all up. If you just joined us now live, you can go back and start watching it from the beginning, where we talk about a potential fullback that we've been linked with. An interesting one as well, in terms of age, in terms of profile, in terms of talent as well. So so make sure to check that out. Let's answer this question quickly from Patrick. It was at the start of the show. I would love to get Iheanacho as a striker. Every time Leicester City is actually smart enough to start him, he produces, how much would he be? Well, if they get relegated, I doubt Iheanacho would be a lot. But then I wonder how much he's
talking about cut rate price for him. Yeah,
but his wages is the concern for me. I don't know how much he's on, but
because Leicester had a pretty significant salary wage for guys, so that'd be a good question to have too.
Yeah,
and I mean, I guess it depends on how he feels. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he takes a little bit less money for the opportunity to play more often than he was with Leicester. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, potentially. But we'll see with striker situation. I'm pretty sure we'll be linked with more strikers. I think Gyökeres is the one to look out for now, if we're serious about a quality striker, maybe from the Championship. I think Gyökeres is the one, but I guess that depends on whether Luton or Coventry get promoted. which we'll find out after this week. So next week, I think Palace news might start livening up a bit, and we might move away from some of the youngsters and talk about first team players. I expect that because this week, yesterday we talked about youngsters as well. There's been a few youngster chat because it's right, because they're gonna slowly move on or not. It's easier for youngsters, to make the decision, whereas first team football it's a bit more difficult. So we'll see what happens with that. But look, people, we're gonna wrap it up here. If you have enjoyed the show, make sure to smash the like button and subscribe. Thank you to T, and thank you to every single one of you who's been supporting us so far this season. We're reaching the final stages of the season. As we are, make sure to check out the opposition preview. The last one of the season has been dropped officially after this, and also to make sure to check out the match preview, which will be posted tomorrow. And until next time, up the Palace.
Up the Palace.